So over the past couple of weeks, maybe you've seen this cover or this one, this most recent one, or you might even remember this one stirring up a bunch of controversy from several years ago. Now, there's a through line that connects all of these posts that goes under the topic of emasculation. Let's talk about it. The word emasculation was introduced in the 1600s, and it initially meant to castrate a man or the removal of a man's private parts. Now, once upon a time, emasculation was used as a form of punishment for criminals, sexual offenders, and slaves. Now, when we fast forward to present day and we talk about emasculation, we're talking about the stripping of a man's identity or the male identity. So we're talking about his strength, we're talking about his competence, as well as his self-assurance. Now, here's the thing. Both women and a man's peers can serve in the emasculation process. We see it all the time, particularly on social media. So when a man is being criticized for, say, wearing the color pink or showing affection towards other men, as well as just like how he shows up for his partner, men are actually criticized for showing softness or, as we saw in the Rihanna Vogue cover, sort of taking a back seat while the woman leads. So what is the big deal, you might ask? Here's the thing. When men don't conform to, traditional masculine norms or whatever your idea of Mr. Right might be, what I want you to know is the way in which you speak on that can absolutely lead to a man's psychological distress. Furthermore, men are faced with the dilemma of trying to figure out, okay, well, which masculine norms should I subscribe to and which ones should I reject? Now, there are 5 ways that I often see men are being emasculated, and here they are. Number 1, shaming him for his personal choices, like what he might wear. 2, shaming him for emotional vulnerability, how he shows up. 3, shaming him for displaying affection towards his male peers. 4, when you compare him to other men that you have romanticized or think is the idea of Mr. Right. And 5, shaming him again for how he shows up in relationships. So when you assert yourself to say, you shouldn't show up that way, you are actually leading to his psychological distress. So you might be saying, okay, Dr. Corey, what should we do? How do we move the needle forward? Stop criticizing and shaming men for all of the things that I've mentioned in this post. What it ultimately does is lead to their insecurity. It disrupts positive bonds that they have, as well as leads them to show up inauthentically. And we know the long-term impact that that's going to have on trying to build positive relationships with men.
Yeah, I feel like I join the choir. Shit, I should go to church. Amen. Praise the Lord.
All right. Welcome to the Too Much Moxie podcast. I'm your co-host, Walt D. Getting up, getting adulting done, getting some things done before I go to work and whatnot. So happy Monday to everybody. Welcome in. Moxie's out today. Let's keep Brother Moxie lifted up in prayer as he takes the day off to do some personal things. And let's make sure we look out for our families, keep our families lifted up in prayer, keep our families solid in our circles. We know this is a man's channel, but anybody could tune in. Today, we are talking about simping and the effects that it has on women's relationship health or couples' relationship health. And it's just something that's making the world a bad place. If you look at if you go up and down the timeline on whatever social media your friends have, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, whatever social media that they got, we used to see Derek Jackson. Derek Jackson used to be the most popular one, but now we see a bunch of other simps rising and making podcasts and making videos and things, and they're speaking in a non-equitable fashion. They speak like, oh, it's always the man's fault, or it always starts with the man. That's something I really hate, when people say, oh, it always starts with the man. I mean, it does, but how many times are we going to always start? How many times are we going to talk about what it starts with? Are we going to always talk about the beginning? Or are we going to start talking about the middle and the end as well? That's just what I want to know. We got so many people we have that's out there now that's just saying some ridiculous stuff, and then then it's affecting women's mental state, because women are saying, okay, well, maybe he's right. Maybe men need to do more of this. Maybe men men need to do that. Let's talk about men's accountability and blah blah blah. But then they never seem to get to women's accountability. And if you really want a relationship to work, if you really want to find somebody that you can function in a relationship, if you don't want to just be defaulted to attracting people, well, if you're a woman, if you don't want to be defaulted to attracting womanizers, you shouldn't listen to these simps. You should know how to take care of your own accountability as an adult. You need to also, you also need to be able to hold a man accountable, and both need to happen. Whenever you see these relationship gurus and social media personalities talking about one-sided, the men, or they'll talk about more things on the man and less things on the woman, all that does is create the big I and little you situation. Like, yeah, well, I don't really have much. I'm a woman. I don't really have much to work on. Yeah, the man has to, man, no matter what I do, the man has to blah, 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 blah. And that's not how it works. I mean, that thank God that we don't see Derek Jackson anymore, as far as I know. But now we have Chris Perry, we have Kev on Stage, we have Johnny J, we have Dontel Britton, we have what's that dude from Cruise Season? What's his name? Let me see if I can look on my phone. What's that guy's name? Not the whole Cruise Season, but this guy right here. He is like one of the biggest simps of all. I mean, his crew is cool. His crew is okay. I mean, his crew will actually talk about things that men and women need to do to come together. But that guy right there on that crew, all he talks about is men doing things to women and men's effect on women. He never talks about dual accountability, and that's the biggest problem. And so when you have women sharing, and or other simps sharing, and thinking that that's how life goes, that uh the accountability mostly falls on men, that's why you have a bunch of mentally unstable women on your social media friends list that always post those guys, and they never think that they have to do anything. They never think that they have to get better. And if they do think that they have to get better, they're on some toxic self-love thing that doesn't include anybody else. Oh yeah, I need to do this for me. I need to do this for me. I need to do this for me myself. And then a man needs to do this for me. A man needs to do this for me. A man needs to do this for me. And then they never say what they need to do for a man. They never say what they need to do in a relationship for each other. It's just I. A bunch of selfishness. Walt D isn't down with the selfishness. We're going to talk in equity. We're going to talk about what's equitable for both people. If you have any woman coming to you talking about, if you have any woman coming to you talking about, oh, me, the social media page says that a man needs to do this and blah blah blah, and she never wants to do anything for bettering herself, that requires her doing anything for you, drop her. It's a modern woman. it's a modern woman that's going to be selfish. She's going to be toxic. She's not going to help you. I mean, the same thing does go for women too. If you have a man that's just totally selfish and doesn't take you into consideration, yeah, that's fine. You got to drop him. But for some strange reason, there's way more pandering to women on social media than there is men. You always have. That's why we have the term simp, and there's not really one for women, because for some strange reason, I don't know if men think that they're going to get more box, or if they're going to think they're going to get a long-term woman by simping, or I don't know what they think that they're going to get. Maybe they think that they're going to get likes and follows and shares, and that's why they have to be so biased and so one-sided. I'm that's just what I'm guessing. I don't understand why men would simp like that. Um, Even going down to honoring fathers, honoring dads, honoring moms. Um, I even posted something on my social media platform and said that mothers and fathers should be honored equally. And for some strange reason, the simps and entitled women personalities and subscribers on social media, for some strange reason, they think that, no matter what a mother does, you honor a mother. But it's okay to call the father the deadbeat. It's okay that no matter what a father does, I could say I don't have no love for him. I don't have to make up for anything. You could have a mother that's acting lower than dirt, and still she will be put on high esteem above a mediocre father. For some strange reason, society likes to do that. But the reason being is because of simp platforms, because of false male chivalry and things of that nature. So maybe we can go over some of it. Let me see if I could and anybody that's watching this afterwards, leave a comment, drop a comment. I mean, I'm willing to talk about anything, but a lot of these simps are making it very bad um for women to be able to take accountability and better themselves so that they can exist in a healthy relationship, and not be totally selfish, and not just be toxic, and not think that their toxicity is okay. I've ran into plenty of women that say, you know what, I'm fine, it's the man's fault. Wait, how are you going to make that general statement? Last time I checked, we're all human. And I think the worst people are the people that try to bring the Bible into it, or try to bring God into it. Especially with what I talked about before, with why society holds mothers in such a high esteem, and will be like whatever about fathers. People say, "Oh yeah, yeah, God says this, God says that." Last time I checked in the Bible, it said honor your father and your mother. It didn't say honor your mother no matter what she does, and kick your father to the curb if you disagree with him, or if you don't like him, or whatever. It says honor your mother and your father. So there's not anything anybody can say. To me, humanity is humanity. There's not anything anybody can say that says put one gender over the other, or that you have one gender that's struggling more than the other. All of that's false. All of that is agenda bias that people are using to create division, and it's just totally ridiculous. So let's talk about it. I mean, let me see if I could pull up some of it, because right now this is a Too Much Moxie show. You got Walt D filling in for the one and only the Don Juan. Too Much Moxie filling in for him, filling in for brother. We doing a reset right now. Please like or share. I know some people don't like to hear the truth, but hey, we got to say the truth. We have too many people, whether it's social media gurus, preachers. Preachers are the worst ones at it. Like you have preachers saying, "Oh yeah, God's daughter, and do this, and a man's responsibility, this and that." I have yet to see any preacher go in on the responsibility of women as much as they go in on the responsibility of men. And it doesn't matter if it all starts with the man. You're just picking and choosing what you want to preach on because you know you have mostly women in the congregation. And you know that once you start talking about women's accountability, that they're not going to like you. They might leave your congregation. And so you're choosing money and status and likes and follows over truth, whether you're a preacher in church or social media guru or whatever. All these people are choosing likes and follows and butts and seats and status and money over the truth. We don't do that here. We man up. So let's see if I could share some of these simps. Here's one. Chris Perry, the simp himself. Let's see what he's talking about.
The table, but headaches and wasted time. Yes, she's in her masculine energy, and that's not going to change until a real man steps up to the plate and takes some of that weight off her shoulders. The more bills a woman pays by herself, the less attractive men become, because she's now so independent that all she's worried about is taking care of her family and leveling up. To her, a man has no place in her life because he's not bringing anything to the table but headaches and wasted time. Yes, she's in her masculine energy, and that's not going to change until a real man steps up to the plate and takes some of that weight off her shoulders. The more bills a woman pays.
Well, that's false. That's definitely false. There's married women right now. There's married women right now that's in their masculine energy just because they don't like the way their husband's leading, or their husband is probably a little bit too soft and they don't know how to respect their husband. Because I understand we have the alpha male and the beta male thing going on, but my thing is no matter what percentage of alpha male or what percentage of beta male your man is, a woman should still be able to respect her man for him being a man, being whatever level of masculinity he has. If he's doing right, she should be able to respect that. She shouldn't say like, "Oh, hey, I have my degree, you don't, so I should be able to run this." No, if he's a good leader or whatnot, he needs to do his role as a man. And if he's doing his role as a man in the house, in the wherever his presence is, his presence as a man should be able to be respected. A woman shouldn't say, "Oh, well, I felt there's too many women." I know, especially in what I do in my profession of relationship ministry, life coaching, everything. There's been women with great men, but they just didn't like what their man was doing, or they thought their man was too soft, or they didn't agree with the direction that their man was going, or they heard something from a simp on social media or a preacher saying, "Oh, you don't have to put up with this, you don't have to take this, blah blah blah," and so then they get into their masculine energy because of something that they want, not necessarily from what a man is doing. And then sometimes it is the man. But see, you don't see these simps on these platforms speaking that it could be a yes or no, that it always depends on the person. They're just saying stupid things, ludicrous, flat out. Oh, yeah, she's in her masculine energy. She hasn't found the man that can match her, take care of her, blah, blah, blah. That there's men paying some of these women's bills, simping, or doing things that they don't need to be doing. And they're not, the women aren't getting out of their masculine energy. Some women don't even know how to flip that switch off. That's why some women lose their man, because the man is like, I have men coming to me, coming in the office or hitting me up on social media. Hey, look, I'm taking care of this. I'm going out there. I'm on the grind. I'm taking care of bills. But when I get home, or if they're in two separate houses or two separate places, when I go over to her house, she don't do anything for me. Or if we're in the same house, she just does what she wants, even after I let her know, like, hey, this is what I expect. And she's like, oh, she either gets too comfortable in some lazy energy or gets too masculine. But this is other than the ones where, sometimes I do have women come up to me like, hey, I'm with this guy and he's not doing much. And I got kids, I got to do what I got to do. Okay, then do what you got to do. But why are you still with him then? Like, why did you choose him? And then I find out that she chose him for some superficial reason. So we got to call that out. We got to talk. We got to talk about that too, because you can't, men or women. But right now, because of the simps, let's talk about the women. You can't choose a man that lacks certain qualities and then complain that he lacks those qualities, and then have simps up here talking about, oh yeah, if a man does it, blanketly applying things to all men for some man that you chose. It doesn't work that way. I would feel very disrespected if a woman tried to look at me as some man in her past, or some man that she chose wrongly on, or whatever. Nuh-uh. That's not going to fly. So let's look at let's look at another simp. One common theme, like I'll say again, one thing that you'll see is these simps, they speak one-sided. They don't say men and women need to do this. Men and women need to do this. Men and women. They just say, oh, it's just all one bias. Let's see what else we have. Johnny J. It says, if a woman is not submissive to a man, it's not because she lacks the ability to submit. Rather, he lacked the ability to create a place for her to let go. That's another lie. That's another yes or no. I was just watching. I mean, I can't really stand Steve Harvey myself, but a broken clock is right 2 times a day, like they say. But I was watching a Steve Harvey clip to where this wife, she said, I don't like the way it's hard on me how my husband is with our sons. And Steve Harvey said, well, wait a minute. You married him because he had all these great attributes, right? And she said, yeah. So she said, if you married him because he's a great man, why are you having a problem with him, with the way he needs to be towards your sons? Because a lot of women don't realize what a man has to do to get sons straight. And Steve Harvey even told her, you might just need to get out the way. And see, the woman didn't want to submit not because the man lacked the ability to be a man for her to submit. She didn't want to submit just simply because she disagreed with his methods. She didn't trust him. She wanted to do what she wanted to do. He gave her every reason to submit. Sometimes you have to do what you know you have to do, or you have to do what God leads you to do. And just because people don't want to submit to it, that's fine. That's fine. You got to do what you got to do. But for some strange reason, simps like Johnny J right here want to bring it up and say, "Oh, hey, a woman's not submitting because you're not doing your response solely because you're not doing your responsibility as a man." No, he should have said it in a yes and no fashion. Sometimes you have men that aren't doing their responsibility, but then other times when nobody's talking about, the other half of the time, or the other majority of the time, from what I do in my profession, the other majority of the time, a woman is not submitting simply because she disagrees with her man, or she disagrees with how he's leading. He could be leading perfectly fine, and just because she disagrees, all of a sudden he's not a man, or he's not leading right, or she doesn't need to submit. I dare somebody to challenge that. I dare somebody to put in the comments to challenge what I'm saying. There's too many people getting divorces over irreconcilable differences simply because they don't want to do the relationship work and want to blame it on the other person. We always hear people talking about, the husband's blaming the wife. You need to stop blaming your wife and blah blah blah. Okay, fine. But then why is it okay for the wife to always blame the husband? How about blame goes to where the accountability is? What happened to that? What you can't blame her for what she's accountable for just because she's a woman? I should have put that video on there. There's some guy, some tattooed guy on social media, TikTok, Facebook, or whatever, talking about, oh yeah, don't blame your wife because you're not leading, you're not this, you're not that. Well, what if it's actually the wife? What if these simps are making it very hard on relationships? If it's the man, fine. Take accountability for what you need to take accountability for as a man. Go better yourself and make yourself better for the family. But in my profession and what I do, I've seen too many men go out there and better themselves, get better, and the wife was still toxic and still try to blame things on him just because she didn't want to change. But these simps don't want to talk about that. And the more you pander to women, the more you pander to anybody, the more you be a crutch to anybody, they're not going to change. They're going to continue to be toxic. And honestly, that's why you have so many women in the single, lonely, and bitter club, because they're expecting a man to be like the simps that they subscribe to. And a man is not that. You're going to continue as a woman to your mental health, your mental relationship health is going to continue to deteriorate if you're looking for a man to be a simp. Because what's going to happen is, and what has happened is, by default, you'll get womanizers. By default, you will get the Pookie and Ray Rays because they don't mind putting up with your poor attitude for a temporary amount of time because you're temporary to them. A man with legacy, once he sees that you're toxic and that you want him to be like the many simps out there, a real man's gonna be like, I don't need this. And that's why you see men saying, I'd rather be single, I don't need this. And then you see the woman getting with another womanizer, having another baby, and then when he's done with her, you need to step up. You just got a man with no step up qualities. He's not going to step up. You need to shape up. Shape up yourself and get with a responsible man that's going to hold you accountable. You can hold him accountable, and then you both cultivate the relationship. Let's see if we can look at another simp. I can't play the music. 6 acts of chivalry: approach and court properly, pay without expecting something in return, offer to get her car washed, buy her flowers randomly, don't spend less than $30. Wow. Lack of intimacy. Problem with this, I'll leave it up there for a minute. Problem with this is that this also depends on what woman that you have. What if she doesn't like flowers? You just spent $30 or $40 on flowers for a woman that doesn't like flowers. Know your woman. Don't teach men to just randomly do stuff for women, because first of all, you have to make sure you can have a woman that appreciates it. You can't just be doing this for women just because you're being chivalrous, especially if that isn't your wife. If that isn't your wife, you need to really tone it down, because she could leave you at any time. She can. There's too many women out there that are preying on male chivalry. Teaching your sons this will get them hurt. Protection, chivalry, healthy chivalry is for who it's for. We always have these simp platforms talking about what men need to do for women. Okay. Where if you go looking up and down, you'll never see them say what women need to do for men. You won't. These simp platforms always want to make it like the man has the problem. And that's a problem, because it's creating a bunch of basket case women who post these things and say, hey, man, you need to be like this. You need to be the fairy tale. And that's why I played the video at the beginning of the show, because that's one way women like to emasculate men, by trying to have them be the simps that they subscribe to. These simps are affecting women's relationship and mental health to where they can't even exist in a relationship. They're too toxic. They want their man to walk on too many eggshells. They want their man to be this fairy tale man and not a real person. They want their man to accept all of these things that real manhood doesn't accept. I dare somebody to challenge it. I dare somebody to, if anybody ever wants to come on the show, feel free. If you want to come on a future show, email me, email Moxie. There's so many simps I could react to, but I got business to take care of. I'll probably do some videos later. We're only going to be here for a couple more minutes. Let's do another reset. There's too much Moxie show. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe. Hit us up, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. We broadcast on all of those platforms. Ladies, if you really want a man, if you really don't want to keep on defaulting to men that's womanizers or men that only see you as temporary, unsubscribe from these simps. I mean, yeah, you might wind up getting a simp, but there's not enough simps to go around. That's one of my pet peeves, though, is a woman that will be dating or married to some kind of simp man who just sits there in a relationship docile while she does whatever she wants with her attitude and poor spirit and blah, blah, blah. And then she thinks that that's how life is supposed to be. She thinks she could just go talk to people any old type of way because she talks to her husband any type of way. Hey, if some of you women might land a simp, but there's not enough simps to go around. There's not enough. So if you want to be available to a broader spectrum of men who will love you and respect you and honor you. They might challenge you. They will challenge you because that's what a man does. That's what women and men are for, to challenge each other objectively and in equity. Now, if you want a real relationship, unsubscribe from the Simps. Stop trying to have a man be a simp. Stop trying to have a man take care of your adult responsibilities. Stop trying to have a man trying to fix what you need to fix before you get into a relationship. Stop trying to have a man be a crutch for it. Stop listening to all these simps. And once again, this guy, ultra simp. His crew is good. Why is it that I'm pretty sure we see so many women on our social media post that guy right there. But why is it that the crew that guy's a part of, the rest of his crew talks about what men and women need to do for each other in equity? But for some reason, that guy right there is the only one on that crew that I've seen. What's it called? The crew season, the Trilek, whatever his name is. Why is he the only one on there simping? So, hey, you heard it here. Get out the matrix, the relationship matrix. Unsubscribe from all of these falsehoods. Unsubscribe from these simps. I'm willing to talk to anybody about it. I'm telling you, the more, just about every woman I know that's subscribing to these simps and posting these simps, that they got some kind of mental issue, some relationship issue of entitlement that they don't want to get over, that they feel as though they don't have to improve themselves because these simps are validating them, and they continue to turn into a basket case more and more and more and more, and they'll never get out of the single, bitter, and lonely club. They'll never get out of the tiredness. I feel for the women that's going through that, because they're tired. They want an actual good and healthy relationship, but what you want, you have to work for. What you want, you have to research for. If you research and realize that those guys are simping, and that you don't need to be in a relationship with a simp, and that the more you try to look for a simp, that the more of a womanizer you'll land, because they'll tell you what you want to hear, the more you have a hard time being able to coexist with the man's leadership, because you're doing toxic self-love and making it all about you, big eyes, little U's. You're not training to be a relationship. You're not training to be in a relationship. The more you're going to suffer. If you really want the suffering to end, you'll do what it takes for the suffering to end. That's how it is with a doctor. A doctor will give you options. If you want this suffering to end, do this. Take this. Stay off of this. Don't do this activity or whatever. But you have some people, they don't care. Oh, okay, doc, cool. And then they'll go back and do what they want to do. They'll be on that broken leg when they're not supposed to be on that broken leg, won't allow it to heal right. And I have another series about healing right and healing properly that we did in the past with a licensed therapist. If you don't allow yourself to heal right and heal properly, you're just going to cause infection. And listening to a lot of these simps and simp preachers that don't talk in equity, it's creating infection in your mind, infection in your mental health. Hey, well, our time's up here. Love y'all. Have a good week. This is the Too Much Moxie podcast, and we are out. Peace.